Hoylo, and we're continuing our research on Grandmaster Charles H. Gaylord, one of the pioneers of Kajukenbo. My guest today is Grandmaster Bill Gifford. Thank you for joining us, sir. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here and being interviewed. Thank you.
Well, it's always a pleasure as well. And Grandmaster Gifford is a 9th degree black belt in Kajukenbo. He also was the head teacher at Grandmaster Gaylord's Fremont school. He started in the mid-70s, stayed there for quite a few years, almost about 20 years, I believe. I would like to ask Grandmaster, what was that like teaching in the 70s and 80s? I mean, the martial arts have changed over the years. What was that like?
It was, for me, it was just a nice new beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Training under Gaylord. And we had classes varying from, 5 students to 50 students. So, but teaching, it was quite an experience, especially under the auspices of Gaylord, who we actually profiled his teachings, how we taught and I taught. So it was good. It was hardwood floors, and when it rained in the dojo, it would leak, so we'd have puddles. But it was a good experience. For me personally. My feet got blisters pretty quick.
Oh, okay.
But after months of training, they started to get callous, and it was a great training experience and teaching experience.
That sounds like the old school style. What was it like when you first met Grandmaster Gaylord? What happened and how did you find him?
Well, back in, I think it was around 69, I was doing a lot of weight training in my garage, and we had neighbors. So I always wanted to take boxing and Kung Fu was one of my main goals. So 4 of us, we went out one evening and checking out some of the dojos. We went over to Niles at Al Novak's school. You probably know Al Novak.
Yes.
And he was a big guy. He wasn't too interested in a bunch of 4 howlies too much taking Kung Fu. He didn't really press on and try to sell his method or anything. But I would have gone there if he would have been more aggressive trying to get us in. Mm-hmm. So the next step was over on Fremont Boulevard, corner Fremont Boulevard, Washington Boulevard. It's the dojo that he opened up in Fremont. And we walked in, Sifu Gaylord at the time came up and talked to us. Mm-hmm. And he sold me right away, and the other guys too. He showed a few little techniques. Of course, he has a real quick hand flipping in the groin, and you go down and he goes up and stuff. So
that's Gaylord.
That's Gaylord. He likes hands-on, and so he convinced us, and we started.
Okay.
And he gave us a pamphlet. It was the club prayer, and me as being a faith-based individual, a Catholic, because I was also teaching catechism at the time. Mm-hmm. That inspired me even more, knowing that it was Christian-based for his school. Mm-hmm. And so that inspired me also. And he gave us, like I say, he gave us a pamphlet on the club prayer. And the motto, I don't know if you remember the motto of the school.
Of the original school? What was the original motto?
Let's see. I come in peace. I'll fight if I must. These are my weapons. Kempo karate.
Okay, nice. All right. So that fits pretty well. And how did you feel as a Catholic person? I think a lot of people want to separate, the martial arts and religion and whatnot. But for some people, it is a connection. And like for me, myself as well, I'm a Christian, and finding out Kajukenbo had a prayer was very touching for me. At Gaylord School, was that a very big thing?
For me, it was, yes. Absolutely. Because anything, if you do it unto the Lord, you do it well. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to do it well, and I want to praise the Lord at the same time. So that's what I did.
Fair enough.
When the time got tough, hey, bring it on. And he did.
That's the way
And
it works, yeah.
yeah, no, it was a good experience, and it was great. And
All right.
he took us through some pretty grueling exercises. And we always had to warm up
Mhm.
exercises, and then we got into the technique and training.
What were the warm-ups and exercises like?
Military,
Hmm.
hardcore military.
Yeah.
Push-ups, sit-ups, laying your back, lifting your legs,
Mhm.
him running over the top of you, knuckle push-ups, duck squats, duck walks, and just a pretty good hardcore exercises.
Mhm.
And all of your blocking techniques and kicking techniques. He would work out for about a good half hour, get you sweating really good before he started to train you. You just don't come in and start training. You
Right.
had to actually build your body up in the Kajukenbo way in order to be trained. So, and my dad was in the Navy during World War II. My brother was in the Marines. My younger brother was in the Army. So I didn't go in it in there military because I was 3F, married with children. So they wouldn't draft me. They wouldn't even take me. And that was so. Anyway, what
So,
else do we got?
so his training had a lot of like the military style. Then you mentioned the push-ups, the running on the stomach, that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah. Squatting position,
Hmm.
forward stance, lion stance, back, and doing all your exercises, all the different blocks,
Hmm.
strikes. Yeah, you had to go through a good routine before you started training. And
So,
the
mhm.
go ahead.
Oh, well, what was Grandmaster Gaylord like as a person? It like taking a look at him and teaching the class, but also outside of the class. How would you describe his character, his personality?
Uh, he was devoted to his family,
Hmm.
uh, great personable, and in class, it was strictly professional. He didn't joke around a lot, except if you're going through some punching tricks, and he wanted to mix it up a little bit, then he would, kind of say, "Oh yeah, this is a little different." But he had a good sense of humor. But basically, he was there for one thing, and that was to teach,
Hmm.
and that's what made him a great teacher.
Hmm. So I've heard that some people feel like I've heard before that he really cared about his family. I've also heard that he really put a lot of effort into teaching Kajukenbo, and it must have been hard to balance that. Did you ever see any challenges for him in balancing his family with Kajukenbo at the same time?
No, his family was involved in Kajukenbo.
Uh-huh.
His family was at the dojo every night. And Liz was the bookkeeper. So I saw them every night and, gave my respects to them.
Uh-huh.
And when Kelly Gaylord got to a particular age and she was training, I started to teach her and doing kata forms and things. And then she went on to do a lot of kata forms and tournaments and got quite a few trophies.
Excellent. So
But because
I'll
that's how Gaylord taught me.
uh-huh.
And he was pretty adamant about precise detail
Hmm.
on your strikes, your form, your feet, your foundation.
Uh-huh.
You had to be a good, solid foundation, and that's what I instilled in my students, and also with Kelly.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, she was a good student, and like I say, she got many trophies.
I was gonna say I'll ask Kelly later. Was she a good? You say she's a good student?
Heck yes, absolutely.
So what do you think was the what do you think was her biggest improvement as being Gaylord's daughter, being part of the family? What kind of growth did you see in his family at the dojo as students?
No, they're very devoted to their father, the
Mhm.
mother, and the art. And so it grew along with him because he was always adapting his techniques later,
Mhm.
after I was a black belt, third, fourth degree black belt, fifth degree, and he had a style where he always adapted. He always was working out with other schools and other styles, and he would bring it in and adapt it back into the Kajukenbo.
I see. Do you remember any examples of that adapting from other schools?
I can't recollect too much right now, but especially in the counters.
Uh-huh.
And there was a counter to the counter, and there was always, no matter what, who you're fighting, there's always an opening.
Right.
And if there wasn't an opening, then you would create one. And that's how he was. He was like a chess master. He'd always think 1, 2, 3 steps ahead. So that's what I saw.
All right.
And I went to train with him in his backyard once, and he was doing a lot of different stuff. And that was good. But that's how he was. And with his training and how he taught me, I adapted too as I got older. So I always bring that in to show some of the other students that when you do a forward punch, there's many different ways to attack that arm, or just do a nice soft block, or you can hit it, you can use it against them. But that's the study of martial art.
All right.
You study it, and when you break it down, you'll see the function and the adaptability that you bring to that particular move and strike. So you don't have to exert yourself too much, and you can go on and on in a fight with your chi and your power and everything else that's inside of you that was taught through Gaylord.
Okay. And you mentioned adapting. What kind of adaptations did you say you added to your style? You mentioned like over time you changed the way you fought, the way you used the Kajukenbo.
Yeah, I can't do high kicks. I can't get my legs straight up. I can't do a lot of those fancy tricks, kicks and spinning and stuff like that anymore. Maybe you can, but when you get to be my age, I don't think you even want to.
Well, I want to ask you because I'm guessing you're about 33 now, 34 years old, I'm guessing.
No, a couple more years. Maybe 41 or 42. Yeah, add another 30 onto that.
What kind of advice would you give for people who've been in the martial arts for as long as you have? I mean, when it comes to the point where you've got to start deciding what techniques you're going to put in your life as your lifestyle changes, do you have any experience or thoughts for them? Because we have a lot of students who are not spring chickens as well.
Get up in the morning.
Yeah.
You start stretching, exercise every morning. Stretch your bodies, your Achilles, do squats, do anything that you can in the martial arts. Do some weight training, not heavy, light weight training, and practice your forms. If you punching tricks and grab arts are fine, but actually the kata forms, when you go through it as best you can. Go through soft, do it hard, and do it fast, and do it slow. 4 different ways you can do those forms. And you can just do it quick, boom, 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 or you could just go, pow, pow, ha, anything. Hard, and then, soft.
All right.
But do it. And sometimes when you get up in the morning, you don't feel so good. Do it anyway. Because I get up sometimes a little stiff here and there, but after about 15, 20 minutes of exercising, I feel a whole lot better.
I see. And would you say that you got some of that attitude from Grandmaster Gaylord when it comes to that type of training with the forms?
Some of that, yeah, but I never saw him get up in the morning and do anything. So the only time I saw him was at the dojo. And sometimes you want to do something before you showed up because you don't know what you're going to be going through.
Ah, yeah. You got to warm up
Because
somehow.
you got to remember, Gaylord did soft and he did hard,
Hmm.
and his moves were quick, and the 1 inch punch.
Yes.
Okay, he can do that very well, and he can do it with your hand, with his hand right against your head, and hit you, and you would think he threw a punch from 10 feet away. But that's a cheat. He taught a lot on cheat power,
Hmm.
and so your inner strength, anything comes from round up,
Hmm.
round up,
Hmm.
here, quick,
Hmm.
precise. So you train, and yeah, it was great. I enjoyed it.
And you also mentioned earlier that you saw him at his home. It was at his garage, his backyard that you trained with him?
It was in the backyard.
Uh-huh.
He had a pretty good sized backyard. This is uh, after he had divorced and remarried. It was some time with that period, and yeah, and I think Sonny Baca was with me,
Hmm.
and so there's two of us who were training.
Hmm.
But being a contractor and my family too, I didn't have a whole lot of time on the weekends.
Hmm.
So church on Sunday, I got 1 day to work in the yard and do pruning and do everything else. So weekends were kind of pretty much for family.
Hmm.
And Kaju was, of course, I'd still practice, but it's always in your mind. You tell me, what time of day do you not think of Kaju?
Sleeping. No, that sometimes I can't even say that as well.
Have you kicked your wife in bed?
Yes. Don't tell her. Shh.
You didn't know she didn't wake up, huh? How many fights have you been in your dreams?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I know where you're going with that. That's yeah.
Yeah, you work at that log. It's part of you, and you bring it into your dreams and your innermost being. So it's a part of you, just like my faith in Catholicism and Christianity.
Hmm.
It's there.
Hmm.
So in that motto, I come in peace, I fight if I must. These are my weapons, Kempo Karate. I fight if I must. I don't fight because I want to fight.
Hmm.
It's, and that was how I believe that also. I'm not going to go out and look for a fight. I've been challenged.
Hmm.
I just look at him and just shrug her off,
Hmm.
My daughter had a boyfriend. He was playing at a bar at Niles. And I went over there and I was standing around. Some guy came up, kind of pushed me a little, brush around. It was a younger kid. I just
Yeah.
I just smiled. I thought, this is funny. What is this, man? And I could have, if I was younger enough, I really fought. I could have turned around and, hit him and kicked him and everything else. What for?
Well, yeah, I think once you've been kicked in a Gaylord class, being, shoved at a concert doesn't really bother you anymore. It's you've had
It
much more.
doesn't bother you. That's what I liked about it because there was a lot of physical contact.
Yeah.
So, and when you teach, you have to have hands on. You have to be able to hold that guy, grab his arm,
Hmm.
and twist it and do everything.
Hmm.
So it's just a natural instinct. It's second nature to you to do that. So you're constantly aware of your surroundings, but still, you got to loosen up a little bit. You got to let people be who they are.
Okay.
And that's fine. You can find out when you let people be who they are. You can find out who they are too. And you talk with them, you can find out if they have a sense of humor, if they have a Christian base,
Hmm.
are they liberal, are they conservative? We can get into politics if you want, but let's leave it
No,
out.
no, 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 no. Coming back to the original school, you mentioned you have the original. You're wearing the gi top now with the original logo.
Yes.
Can we see that? Can you turn it
Yeah.
around and look at and show us to the camera? Let's see. Gaylord School of Karate. All right. So that's from the original school, huh?
Yes. Though I believe that was also on their sign,
Okay.
the dojo.
That's pretty cool drawing. Do you know who did the actual drawing of the karateka on there?
No, you'd have to ask Liz Gaylord
Uh-huh.
or Kelly. They might know, but I certainly don't. But it was a silk screen.
Uh-huh.
So it's one of the sign companies probably around in that area at the time.
Hmm.
They got those. And there's also a print where they had all the promotional documentation and stuff like that. So
Okay.
I really don't know on that part.
Yeah, fair enough. Now, we talked a little bit earlier before we started recording, actually. You were teaching in the Fremont school during the mid-'70s or so. And was Grandmaster Gaylord there at the time?
Yes, he's always been there.
Hmm.
When it closed down, we moved to another place in Fremont, and then we moved to the Alice Miller building and it upstairs. And the Golden Dragons would come over occasionally and work out with us also. Pete Morales and a few of the other students would come over. They would spar and they would train. That was probably closer to probably in the 80s. But then again, you could check that with Kelly and Liz.
All right. What was the cross training like with the two schools sparring together?
Oh, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I think I sparred with either it might have been Chris Brinkerhoff. You know who the Brinkerhoffs?
I know the name, yeah.
They went on to kickboxing. They were
Okay.
pretty well known in kickboxing.
Nice.
So yeah, he was pretty good. He got some pretty high kicks, and it was good. I don't remember. It was just a sparring, but
Yeah.
it wasn't no point. That we just mixed it up a little bit,
Hmm.
and I think Pete wanted them to come over and train with us to increase his knowledge and technique also. But they were good kids.
Oh, nice. All right.
Yeah.
So, what would you say was the biggest impact Grandmaster Gaylord had on the martial arts, on Kajukenbo or the martial arts as a whole? What did he do that really made a big difference more than anything else?
Well, his style of promoting the art. When he came over here from the islands, I guess it was in San Leandro, then he ended up over in Fremont.
Uh-huh.
He was promoting black belts, and they would open up schools, and their black belts would open up other schools, and it just mushroomed. It just went out all over.
Mhm.
And he had quite a name for himself. He was over different parts of Europe, I guess. So he would travel anywhere
Mhm.
to do anything. A lot of tournaments. He took us to tournaments. Anytime they had a tournament, he would take his students. And so his promotional technique, and actually with hands-on, he would be there to promote it. He wouldn't send somebody. He'd always promote it himself. And his just style. Everybody just loved his style of teaching.
Mhm.
He put all his techniques. He didn't use just his mouth, but he used his strength and his style of teaching and forms, punching tricks. I mean, he would have really started the black belt classes over in San Leandro.
Mhm.
It's great promotion. People came all over to watch him teach and train and participate.
Hmm.
So, no, he was quite well at doing that.
So that level of promotion, was that as common back then, or was it really a rarity, or was he kind of fitting in with other people who were able to do that?
I don't think there was too many other people. I think they used to have maybe a school, but they weren't really promoting it.
Mhm.
But he had quite a few black belts that had schools.
Mhm.
You know, San Leandro, Concord. I was busy with his school
Mhm.
that I didn't get into a lot of what other schools were doing.
Right, right.
Only only what the Fremont School was promoting and teaching.
Okay. So almost finished for this podcast. Grandmaster, if you could pass any message on to Great Grandmaster Gaylord now, if he came down here and you had a chance to talk with him, what's the last thing you would like to say to him?
Well, it was an honor being your student. It was an honor to teach in your school. You left a wonderful legacy for Kajukenbo, and your method will go on for years and years to come. I only hope that they really teach it as a Gaylord method, because some variations go here and there, but the basic foundation, how he taught, and he was taught even back in Hawaii. Hard, soft, because that's what this method is all about. But keep it in your heart, and he did that in his dedication, and I appreciate that. And that's what I would tell him.
All right. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for tuning in to watch. Thank you, Grandmaster Gifford, for joining us. Always really appreciate it. For those of you listening, stay tuned for our next show. We will be continuing this podcast series. Until then, stay strong, stay Kajukenbo strong. Mahalo.
Mahalo.